The roar of ATV engines shattered the quiet dusk as Scarlet Hayes, 92 and frail but unbowed, gripped her porch railing, her veteran's hands trembling with rage. "Get off my land, you cowards!" she shouted, her voice cracking like thunder over the Montana hills. But the riders just laughed, revving closer in a cloud of dust and malice. In that moment, with tears stinging her eyes, Scarlet reached for the old rotary phone inside, dialing a number she hadn't touched in 50 years. A call that would unearth buried secrets and change everything. Scarlet Hayes had always been a fighter. Born in the dusty plains of Montana in 1934, she enlisted in the Women's Army Corps during the Korean War era, not just for duty, but to escape the suffocating expectations of a small-town life where women like her, women who loved other women, were whispered about like ghosts. Back then in the 1950s, such love was a dangerous secret, punishable by discharge or worse. But in the barracks of Fort Lewis, Washington, Scarlet met Aria Thompson, a sharp-witted mechanic from Chicago with eyes like storm clouds and a laugh that could melt steel. Aria was everything Scarlet wasn't. Bold, unapologetic, city-slick with a jazz record collection that she smuggled into the base. They bonded over late-night shifts repairing Jeeps under the harsh floodlights, their hands brushing in ways that sent electric sparks through Scarlet's veins. "You handle that wrench like it's a lover," Aria teased one evening, her voice low and husky, the air thick with unspoken desire. Scarlet blushed but didn't pull away. It was the start of something profound, a love that bloomed in stolen moments, whispered confessions in the shadows, fingers intertwined under blankets during air raid drills. But war and society conspired against them. In 1955, rumors swirled. A jealous sergeant reported unnatural behavior, and the military's witch hunts for homosexuals were in full swing. Scarlet, terrified of losing her honor, denied everything when questioned. "It was nothing," she lied to the investigators, her heart breaking as Aria was dishonorably discharged, shipped back to Chicago in disgrace. Aria's last letter arrived months later. "You chose them over us. I won't forget." Scarlet burned it, but the words seared into her soul. Decades passed. Scarlet married a kind but distant rancher named Tom, had 2 children, and buried her past under layers of Montana soil. Tom died in '98, the kids moved to cities, leaving Scarlet alone on the sprawling ranch that had become her prison and sanctuary. She volunteered at the local VFW hall, sharing war stories sanitized of her truth, her medal from Korea pinned proudly but hollowly on her chest. Then came the ATV riders, a gang of local troublemakers, young men in their 20s, led by a hothead named Jake Harlan, started tearing through her property. They claimed the old trails as their playground, ripping up fences, scattering her few remaining cattle, and hurling slurs when she confronted them. "Old hag, go back to your knitting," Jake yelled one afternoon, his bike spitting gravel at her feet. Scarlet called the sheriff, but in this rural corner of America, where everyone knew everyone, Jake's father was a big-shot landowner. Complaints went nowhere. The bullying escalated. One night they spray-painted "freak" on her barn, a word that echoed her past fears. Scarlet's arthritis flared. Her sleep vanished, haunted by nightmares of investigations and lost love. She felt small, defeated, like the girl who'd betrayed Aria all those years ago. But something stirred inside her, a flicker of the soldier she'd been. That fateful evening, as the riders circled her porch like vultures, Scarlet's resolve cracked open. She dialed the number from memory, her fingers shaking. The line rang and a voice answered, older, wiser, but unmistakably Aria's. "Scarlet? Is it really you?" The conversation poured out like a dam breaking. Scarlet confessed everything. The fear that had silenced her, the regret that had poisoned her life, the current torment that mirrored her inner pain. Aria listened, her own voice thick with emotion. She'd built a life in San Francisco after the discharge, became an activist in the early gay rights movement, married a woman in the aughts when it became legal, but never forgot Scarlet. "I hated you for so long," Aria admitted. "But time heals, or at least numbs." As they talked, Scarlet heard the riders' engines fade into the distance, but her world shifted. This call wasn't just about seeking help. It was redemption. Aria, now 90 herself, promised to come. "We'll face this together like we should have back then." The next morning, Scarlet woke with a purpose she hadn't felt in decades. She baked apple pie. Arya's favorite from their army days, and waited. When Arya's rental car pulled up the dusty drive, Scarlett's heart raced. Arya stepped out, silver-haired and elegant, leaning on a cane but with that same stormy gaze. They embraced on the porch, tears mingling, the Montana sun warming their reunion. But peace was short-lived. Jake and his crew returned that afternoon, engines roaring. "Who's the old lady, friend?" Jake sneered, circling the yard. Scarlett stood tall, Arya beside her. "This is my love," Scarlett declared, her voice steady for the first time. "And you're trespassing." The confrontation ignited. Jake laughed, revving closer, but Arya, ever the fighter, pulled out her phone. "I've got friends in high places," she said coolly. As an activist, she'd networked with lawyers and media. One call later, a local news crew was en route, drawn by the story of two elderly lesbian veterans standing against bullies. Word spread like wildfire in the small town. Neighbors who'd ignored Scarlett's pleas now rallied. Veterans from the VFW, LGBTQ allies from nearby Billings. Jake's father, embarrassed, reined in his son. The riders backed off, fences were mended, and Scarlett's ranch became a symbol of resilience. Yet deeper wounds remained. Over evenings by the fire, Scarlett and Arya unpacked their past. "Why didn't you fight for us?" Arya asked one night, pain etched in her face. "I was scared," Scarlett whispered, "of losing everything. But I lost you anyway." Forgiveness came slowly, in shared stories and quiet touches. They walked the trails hand in hand, reclaiming the land and their love. Scarlett's children visited, shocked but supportive, learning their mother's hidden history. As summer faded, Arya decided to stay. "We've wasted enough time," she said. Their love, once forbidden, now bloomed openly in the golden fields. The Montana autumn brought crisp winds that whispered through the aspens, turning leaves to flames of red and gold. Scarlett and Arya settled into a rhythm, like two old gears finally meshing after years of rust. Mornings started with coffee on the porch, watching the sun rise over the Rockies, their conversations weaving between nostalgia and newfound intimacy. "Remember that night in the motor pool?" Arya chuckled, her hand on Scarlett's knee. "You kissed me first, you know." Scarlett smiled, but shadows lingered. The ATV incidents had stopped, thanks to the media spotlight. Arya's connections had turned their story into a viral piece on veteran rights and LGBTQ elders. Donations poured in for ranch repairs, and a local group even organized a stand with Scarlett barbecue. But Jake Harlan simmered in resentment, plotting from the shadows of his father's bar. One evening, as Scarlett and Arya drove into town for groceries, Jake's truck tailgated them aggressively. "Freaks!" he shouted from his window, swerving close. Scarlett gripped the wheel, flashbacks to army interrogations flooding her mind. Arya reached over, steadying her. "Pull over. Let me handle this." They stopped at a diner, Jake following. He stormed in, beer on his breath. "You think you're heroes? Ruining my fun 'cause you're whatever you are." The room tensed, patrons whispering. Arya stood, her voice calm but steel-edged. "Son, I faced worse than you in Korea and Stonewall. Back off or you'll regret it." Jake lunged, but the diner owner, a fellow vet, intervened, escorting him out. The incident shook Scarlett, dredging up old insecurities. What if he's right? What if we're just old fools chasing ghosts? That night, back home, emotions boiled over. Arya confessed her own betrayals. After the discharge, she briefly married a man to fit in, had a daughter who now lived in New York. "I betrayed myself too," she admitted, tears falling. Scarlett felt a stab of jealousy, then empathy. They argued, voices rising. Accusations of abandonment flying like shrapnel. "You left me to rot in shame," Arya cried. "And you moved on without a backward glance." Scarlett shot back. The fight ended in silence, each retreating to separate rooms. Scarlett lay awake, regretting her youthful cowardice. Morning brought reconciliation. Arya slipped into bed, whispering apologies. "We're both broken, but together we can mend." Their bond deepened through therapy sessions via video. Arya's idea, connecting with a counselor specializing in LGBTQ veterans. Scarlett opened up about suppressed traumas, the war's horrors, the lavender scare that tore them apart. Arya shared her activism days, marching in pride parades, fighting for the rights they now enjoyed. But Jake wasn't done. He rallied a few cronies spreading rumors online, calling Scarlett and Arya deviants corrupting the town. Hate mail arrived, echoing the slurs from their past. Scarlett's daughter, Emily, flew in from Seattle outraged. "Mom, why didn't you tell us?" Emily hugged her, then Arya. "You're family now." Emily's support ignited a community response. A town hall meeting was called, where Scarlett spoke publicly for the first time. "I served my country, loved in secret, and now I stand proud." Applause erupted, drowning out Jake's boos. His father, shamed, grounded him, literally confiscating the ATVs. As winter approached, Scarlett and Arya planned a trip to San Francisco, Arya's home turf. "I want to show you where I found my voice," Arya said. They drove cross-country, stopping at landmarks, the Grand Canyon where they shared a sunset kiss, Route 66 diners reminiscing over milkshakes. In San Francisco, Arya introduced Scarlett to her daughter, Lena, and granddaughter. The family dinner was awkward at first, generations clashing over politics, but love bridged the gaps. Lena, a queer artist, painted their portrait. Two women, hands clasped, against a backdrop of stars and stripes. Back in Montana, snow blanketed the ranch, mirroring the peace settling in their hearts. Yet a health scare loomed. Scarlett's doctor diagnosed early dementia. "It's progressing slowly," he said, but the news hit like a bomb. Arya vowed to stay, caregiving with tenderness. "We've got time left. Let's make it count." Their days filled with simple joys. Reading by the fire, baking bread, stargazing. Scarlett wrote letters to her grandchildren, revealing her story. "Love who you love without fear," she penned. One stormy night as thunder rolled, Scarlett turned to Arya. "That phone call. It saved me." "No," Arya replied. "It saved us." Winter's grip tightened on the Montana ranch, snowdrifts piling against the barn like forgotten regrets. Scarlett's dementia flickered unpredictably. Moments of clarity interspersed with confusion, where she'd call Arya by old army nicknames or forget recent events. Arya adapted, labeling cabinets, setting reminders, her love manifesting in patient routines. "You're my anchor," Scarlett murmured one lucid evening, their fingers entwined by the hearth. But external storms brewed. Jake Harlan, humiliated by the town hall, sought revenge. He anonymously tipped off a conservative blogger, twisting their story into veteran shame. Lesbian affair tarnishes hero's legacy. The post went viral, attracting trolls who flooded Scarlett's mailbox with vitriol. "Disgrace to the uniform," one letter spat. Scarlett crumbled under the assault, retreating inward. "Maybe we should have stayed hidden," she whispered to Arya, eyes haunted. Arya, drawing on her activist fire, fought back. She contacted allies from the Human Rights Campaign, turning the backlash into a national conversation on elder LGBTQ abuse. Interviews followed CNN, NPR, where Scarlett, with Arya's support, shared her truth. "Love isn't a disgrace, hate is." The exposure brought unexpected allies. A group of young queer veterans from Billings formed a support network, visiting the ranch with meals and stories. One, a trans woman named Riley, bonded with Scarlett over war tales. "You paved the way," Riley said, inspiring Scarlett to mentor them. Yet betrayal struck closer. Scarlett's son, Mark, who'd been distant, called in fury. "Mom, this is embarrassing the family. Think of the grandkids." His words echoed her past denials, reopening wounds. Arya overheard, confronting him via speakerphone. "Your mother's a hero. If you can't see that, stay away." Mark hung up, but seeds of doubt planted. The conflict peaked during a family Christmas visit. Emily arrived with her kids, supportive, but Mark showed uninvited, tense. Over dinner, arguments erupted. "You're parading this lifestyle," Mark accused. Scarlett, in a fog, defended weakly. Arya exploded. "This lifestyle is love, you fool. She sacrificed everything for you." Mark stormed out, but not before revealing a secret. He'd known about Scarlett's orientation since finding old letters as a teen. "I ignored it, hoped it'd go away." His confession shattered Scarlett. "You knew and said nothing," she wept. Reconciliation came slowly. Mark returned the next day, apologetic, hugging his mother. "I was scared like you were." They talked through the night, bridging decades of silence. Arya watched, proud, as family healed. As spring thawed the land, Scarlett's health stabilized with medication. She and Arya volunteered at a local pride event, first in Montana's history, Scarlett waving a rainbow flag from her wheelchair. Jake, watching from afar, approached sheepishly. "I was wrong," he muttered, offering to fix the fences he'd damaged. Redemption rippled outward. Their love deepened in quiet ways. Arya reading poetry aloud, Scarlett sketching Arya's portrait from memory. One afternoon under blooming cherry trees, Arya proposed. "Marry me for real this time." Scarlett accepted, tears of joy flowing. The wedding was small, ranch-side, with family and friends. Vows exchanged under the vast sky. "In war and peace I choose you." Honeymoon in Hawaii, where they danced on beaches free at last. But life's drama persisted. Arya suffered a mild stroke, roles reversing. Scarlett caregiving with fierce determination. "We're in this together," she affirmed, echoing their youth. Through it all, their story inspired a book deal. Arya's memoir, co-authored with Scarlett. Hidden Hearts, A Veteran's Love, became a bestseller, humanizing LGBTQ history. As summer returned, Scarlett reflected on that shocking phone call. It hadn't just stopped bullies. It unleashed a lifetime of suppressed emotion, leading to this profound human connection. The summer sun baked the Montana earth, wildflowers carpeting the fields like a quilt of memories. Scarlett and Arya's marriage brought a glow to the ranch, neighbors dropping by with congratulations and casseroles. "About time," old Mr. Jenkins from down the road grumbled good-naturedly, tipping his hat. The couple hosted barbecues, sharing stories that blended war heroism with personal triumphs, fostering a community once divided. Yet shadows of the past resurfaced. A letter arrived from Arya's ex-husband, long divorced but stirring old guilts. "I always knew," he wrote kindly, enclosing photos from their brief marriage. Arya shared it with Scarlett, vulnerability raw. "I tried to be someone I'm not." Scarlett held her, whispering, "We all did, darling. But now we're true." Health challenges mounted. Scarlett's dementia episodes increased. One night she wandered the yard, calling for Private Thompson like in army days. Arya found her, guiding her back with songs from their youth. "I'm losing myself," Scarlett feared. Arya replied, "I'll remember for both of us." To cope, they traveled east, to Washington, D.C. for the Memorial Day parade. Scarlett, in her uniform, saluted the Korean War Memorial, tears for fallen comrades and lost years. Arya held her hand publicly, a quiet act of defiance. They visited the Stonewall Inn in New York, Arya recounting riots she'd witnessed. "This is our legacy," she said. Back home, Jake's redemption arc deepened. He volunteered at the ranch, learning from Scarlett about respect and resilience. "My pa was hard on me," he confessed. Scarlett mentored him, sharing veteran wisdom. "Hate comes from fear. Face it head on." Family dynamics evolved. Mark, now involved, brought his kids for summers, teaching them tolerance. Emily organized a family reunion, where secrets aired and bonds strengthened. "We're a modern American family," she toasted. But a major conflict arose. Developers eyed Scarlett's land for a resort, pressuring her to sell. Jake's father led the charge, offering big money but with underhanded tactics. Anonymous threats echoing the ATV days. "Sign or regret it," a note warned. Scarlett refused, rallying the community. Arya, with her networks, brought in environmental lawyers, turning it into a fight for rural preservation and veteran rights. Protests formed, signs reading "Save Scarlett's Sanctuary." Media returned, amplifying their voices. The climax came at a county meeting. Scarlett spoke eloquently despite fog. "This land holds my blood, sweat, and love. It's not for sale." Arya followed, revealing the developer's shady deals. Jake testified against his father. "I bullied her once. Won't let it happen again." The board voted no, land preserved. Victory sweetened their days. They adopted a rescue dog, named Liberty, running free on the ranch. Evenings they watched sunsets, reflecting on life's twists. "That call was fate," Scarlett said. Arya nodded. "Or courage." As fall neared, Scarlett's condition worsened. Doctors advised assisted living. "No," she insisted. "Here with you." Arya agreed, hiring help. Their love became a beacon, speaking at schools, inspiring youth. One crisp morning, Scarlett penned a final letter to Arya. You were my war, my peace, my everything. She passed it over breakfast, eyes shining. Autumn leaves swirled like confetti as Scarlett's health declined. Each day a precious gift wrapped in uncertainty. Arya became her constant, reading from their memoir, playing jazz records that transported them back to Fort Lewis. Dance with me, Scarlett requested one evening, frail but determined. They swayed slowly in the living room, laughter mingling with tears, the weight of years lifting in that embrace. The community enveloped them. Meals delivered, visits from Riley and the Queer Vets group. Jake, now reformed, mowed the lawn weekly, sharing beers with Arya. You two taught me what real strength is, he admitted. Family gathered often. Mark, redeemed, moved closer with his wife, helping with chores. Emily's kids called Arya Grandma A, drawing pictures of the two women as superheroes. You're our idols, a granddaughter said, hugging them. But the end loomed. Scarlett's lucid moments grew rare. She confused past and present, reliving the betrayal. Why did I let you go? She'd ask Arya, anguished. Arya soothed her. You didn't. I'm here. In a poignant twist, Arya discovered old letters Scarlett had hidden. Unsent apologies from the 50s. Reading them aloud, they cried together, closing circles of pain. Forgive me, Scarlett whispered. I already have, Arya replied. As winter whispered in, Scarlett slipped away peacefully one night. In Arya's arms, under a quilt they'd sewn together. I love you, were her last words, soft as snow. The funeral was a celebration, veterans saluting, rainbows waving, stories shared. Arya spoke. Scarlett taught me that love endures betrayal, time, and hate. She was my hero. Arya stayed on the ranch, turning it into a retreat for LGBTQ elders, a living legacy. Jake helped manage it, Emily fundraised. The phone call that started it all became legend, inspiring others to reach out, heal. Years later, Arya sat on the porch, 95 now, watching sunsets. She dialed Emily. Tell the grandkids her story. In that moment, Scarlett's spirit lived on, human, flawed, profoundly loving. Their tale, dramatic and romantic, reminded America. Love in all forms redeems.